Hey all you camper fans, Big Matt here. Time for another update video on Miss Mary. So it's been a few months since I last did a walkthrough on her, and since then she's been put back on Jake's back. And so we're back over at the barn, been working on the inside again. And I needed to have my table saws and stuff handy, so let's go and start. So we're going to do a little outdoor walk around this time before we go inside. You can see the snap and nap is in its usual dirty state. This is what happens when you store your camper underneath a western red cedar in your driveway. So see, all our jacks are nicely pulled up. We've got the bottom on the tank compartment all installed. We still need to make the flashing knot to go on it, and I need to finish cutting out the little bottom for the compartment that goes underneath the valves there, and then order up a compartment door so that we can get that all nice and watertight. But eventually our dump valves will be entirely inside of a heated compartment once that's done. We've got our connector right here. It's just a standard 4-pin with only 2 pins connected. That is for our little gray water pump. It's not a macerator, it's just a little live well pump that I've been using for years to pump the gray water off when we're in camp and there's no hookups and I can't, do a nature drop with it where I water the thirsty tree. So we use that with our little portable waste tank, and it allows me to pump water uphill because usually the tank is higher than the camper is most times when it's off the truck. As you can see, we're plugged in. We're finally fully hooked up. The furnace is permanently installed now. We finally cut the bracket on this side. We still need to do the other one, and gotten the rear tie-down hole bored into it. I need to come back and do a lot of sanding and stuff. The goal, hopefully this summer, is to be ready to paint and get Miss Mary looking pretty again. I am thinking about removing this. It's brand new, but the angle of approach on it makes it impossible to actually get a downhill flow to the freshwater tank. So I'm thinking is they make a city inlet like this that fits this hole. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pipe for the tank inlet and make it a T, and then I'm going to hook up the city inlet, the little city water inlet connection to the lower part of the T so that I can just thread in a garden hose when I want to fill the tank that way. And then I'm going to put somewhere like up about here, one of those little tray, oh, you can't see that. So right about here, I'm going to put one of those little tray type fill ports in so that, one, I like those better than the screw caps. You have something to stick your thing into when you're filling, and this is a pain. It'll still give us our tank vent, and then when we have those rare occasions where we don't have a thread connector or anything we can use for filling the fresh tank, we can just stick it in there to fill the tank, and because this will have a check valve in it, water will backflow out of it. Well, the thing will go here, we'll have a check valve, and then we have our vent up much higher than the tank, and it'll all work. And you can see we got our bubble levels on both the front and the rear. These are the exact same bubble levels that Mr. Kit had. Everything is dirty as the dickens because, again, it's Oregon and everything turns brilliant shades of green. You can see our tarp is less about keeping the roof dry and more about trying to keep the tree mess off of it. See our modified wobble stoppers all mounted up, flipped in. And like I say, I still need to cut this bracket. I just haven't done it. When I was in the shop, it was too close to flammable stuff to be sitting there with a cutoff wheel shooting a sea of sparks everywhere. So let's go inside. You can see from here, not a whole lot changed. But up there, we've got all our bezels in and our light switches at work. We can go and flip that. And our porch light actually comes on because we're all wired up except for the second battery bank, because I don't have a battery that works for it currently. Unfortunately, Mr. Kit's Group 31s are dead. they sat 5 years and went to pot. So this is our next and last big project area to do once we get done up on the front end. And we got our little stereo in here with Bluetooth. Works really nicely. I still need to make the oak surround for it, so it's just kind of sitting in there, but that's not hard to take in and out. See, our bed compartment is, of course, storage. The shower is, of course, storage. And we've got the air conditioner lid on finally. Forgive the mess. I literally kind of just shoved piles of parts everywhere while I'm working. The furnace is installed. The grill is currently on it. That's simply just so I could keep it out of the way. And I was also testing it for airflow before we hooked the gas up to it. Because we've also got the ducting for it all plumbed in. You can see the split. That line there goes to the tank compartment, and that line there goes up to the front of the camper. I put in a little baffle inside here on the output, right along this left side, because that's where that tube comes out. So I could force more of the airflow into the duct without restricting it so much that it causes the furnace problems. Get our lights turned on in here. It's a little cold this morning, so the fluorescence will take a second. And a little piece of Mr. Kit. The annoying thing about this is it's just a 921 bulb, but the bases look bigger, and I spent a day and drove 100 miles trying to find larger 921 bulbs. I've got little bitty indicator light bulbs in there for right now. The main electrical distribution area for all the 12-volt connectors and the self-resetting breakers and whatnot. We've got two more circuits to finish up. I've got half the wiring pulled up to the front that's going to hook up to the relay for the water pump, because we have a two-way switch in for the water pump, and rather than having the water pump run directly through the switch wiring, we're just using the switch wiring to turn a 20 amp auto relay on and off. Our little cadet heater, it does work. It works very nicely. I've actually heated this camper a few times with it. It's only 1,000 watt. It's not a 1,500 watt because we wanted it as a secondary heater, not a primary. The little round switch knob turns our jacks on and off. Distribution panel's all hooked up. I got to find a nicer faceplate for that because it kind of looks cruddy because that one doesn't sit very well. We've still got to finish up our gas connections in here. The electrical work for the furnace is all done, of course. I can't see what I'm seeing. So the electrical work, all furnace is all wired in, the thermostat's wired in. We tried to reuse Mr. Kit's real nice thermostat, but unfortunately it sat with batteries in it too long and battery acid killed it. So we found another the same model and replaced it. Back here you can see my duct lines and the little deflector. That's aluminum tubing, so I'm not too worried about the heat coming off of that. All of our wiring going to the front and through the cabinets. This is going to, for anyone wondering, this is all going to get a wainscoting put in here before it's finished. So it's going to be like a cherry wainscot. So all the seams and stuff in that little access panel are going to disappear behind that. And it's not going to be glued in. I'm going to be putting little nickel plate finish washers in, and then that will go in. They'll hold it on, so if I need to, I can just take this panel off with a couple screws and get to those if I need to do something with the connectors. Those are our battery select for service, I keep moving the camera away from where I'm pointing. Battery select for service, battery select for charge. So you can draw off one battery and charge the other. The charge plug from the camper, the main connection, comes from the front and connects into that. So you can see the charge circuits only use number 4 because we don't need near as thick as wire, but we used OT1 for the feed wires because we have a 1,000 watt inverter tucked away inside the little false compartment there. That's ergo the grill. And the little breaker box. And then there's our auto transfer switch, which is an inverter one for Xantrex. It works just fine with my Samlex. Even though we spent a day yesterday discovering that I had hit the wire that runs between this compartment here, and the fuse blocks for the things. And so as a smart boy, I tested it with the inverter because the inverter has an immediate GFCI circuit and it cuts it off. So if there's anything, because I sounded it out with the multimeter, no shorts. Plug it into the inverter, there's enough of a short that the inverter's going, hey, yeah, no. So we ended up having to cut that wire off and abandon it, and I pulled a new one along the lower route. I designed this for so if I needed to run future wire, I could. So we ran new wire all the way around and down under the tank, up and over. And that little brown wire there is actually for the intercom system. I've got to take that off the wall so I could dismantle it and probably replace most of the parts in it. I suspect they're probably oxidized from age. And then we've got our connection blocks here. I need to pull one more cable for the cable TV connector. That's for our Wingard, one of those little smart booster units you can get that has a little digital display and also has an aiming help. And so it'll give you signal strength. And since our TV antenna controls are right there, we could just go and adjust it that way. And then this guy here is for the two switches that were in Mr. Kit as well, that run the exhaust fan block. We have four 80mm marine grade 12 volt DC blower motors, which I'm gonna show you where they're going in a little bit. And then there'll be also, of course, the ones that are in Mr. Kit's fridge, which I took over. Mr. Kit's fridge is currently, it does work still. It's currently just getting used to store all the loose fasteners. And then under here, we had to pull that one back apart while I was debugging the wiring yesterday. But we have two outlets. The outlets are ones with built-in USB chargers, and we have one in each corner of the cabinet. That's what they look like when they're in. And of course, our stereo speakers. That does in fact work. I'm not going to record any audio from it because I'll get content matched on YouTube. So that does work. It actually runs off of the extension cord, or at least at the driveway, because it's a 20 amp plug at the house. That Fantastic fan works great. I thought it didn't work a while back when I was testing it. It's just thermostatic, and it will not run if it's too cold inside, no matter how low you turn the temperature down. So you can see all of our wiring and my mess of crap piled up here. And our duct line, wires run over across. We've got one more water connection to make here. I took the water pump out of Mr. Kit and proceeded to break off one of the connectors on the side while tightening on the push, the shark bite connection. So that's going to have to get, I've got a new head for that. I've just got to put it in. There's a whole nother story about that I'm not going to get into on this video, of the incompetence of one of our Amazon delivery guys. Here we go. I put in the note, says, please don't deliver to other residents, because I never found the part I ordered the first time. And then there's our main control panel here. This guy here turns on the inverter. This is the current battery voltage. It'll show you how much load it's currently drawing. It's just uses an Ethernet cord to run that. It's kind of nice. And then there's our CLEV. I don't know why they give a slightly different voltage reading between the two. I think it's because of where they read the voltage at. This one's closer to the connections are closer to the converter. And this one comes directly off the battery on the main leads out. And then there's our two switches here. This turns on and off that gray water pump switch, but it won't do anything unless you flick this guy on. And that little indicator there. That is controlled by the other switch. I can't really get to it right now. That's in the wall in the shower here, up by the where the vanity is. Excuse me, medicine cabinet. Excuse me. So that will turn. That's the other end of that switch. Turns that on and off. We've got our outlets and stuff under here. Our two light fixtures. Mr. Kit's original range hood. It is wired in and works. Our microwave. The surround is an RV type. The microwave is a household Toshiba. I got really lucky and managed to find a 0.9, I believe correctly, cubic foot microwave. And so, it's a nice one. Wasn't terribly expensive. It was the last one they had. So it is a display unit, so I got it at a discount. Electric control panel. There's the replacement thermostat. the the one for the gas furnace, and then this guy controls the cadet heater. And then this is where we kind of left off working yesterday. I ended up having to take a bunch of stuff apart because I discovered that short in the wire, because I had just finished connecting up that little gray box back there, because that's the main junction for all the inverter wiring. There's a lot of loose wires in here, so I've taken down the wire grommets because I was tracing stuff. And then these are our power and KTV connections for the cab over. We've got 2 more wires to pull in because we've got the antennas to put on the roof still for the cell booster and the Wi-Fi repeater. And so that's our connection box for that. Power, that of course connects in, like I said, the gray box. This is the first layer of insulation that goes in here. That's why it doesn't go all the way down this side. There's too many wires and stuff to make it practical. Try and put foam there. But this is, as you can see, I've got the starts of the baffle here. The fridge will slide into this baffle and make a nice little snug fit. And then this is going to be packed with rock wool on both sides, and then on the top, between the top of the refrigerator and the wiring, it's up there. I still need to finish making the rest of the sheet metal to duct this in so that the fans are going to sit up in here. And then it is going to be, this is going to get a bend over here because the fridge, this is the exact center of this, so the fridge sits there. And then we have it so it's all sheet metal. So all that, this is like only a short distance off from the back cooling fins and everything, so we have a nice air draft. And then with the 4 fans and the vent up there, it's going to suck a tremendous amount of air through, so we should continue to have our good efficiency like we did in Mr. Kit, which wasn't near as fancily built. But that is where we're working currently. I need to finish the gas line connections to the compartment still. This is going to be our, these are going to both be doors. I'm not putting the drawers back in either side here. Well, one, this didn't exist originally. This I created as part of the, when we shifted the bed out and shifted the dinette over, because they had half the hatch door behind a wall, because originally the dinette came all the way over like the first third of this louvered grill over here, and so we shortened the dinette up quite a bit. So it's kind of more of a 2-person dinette now. But they're giving it's going to be either me and Dawn 90% of the time. That's not going to be an issue, and the cat doesn't take up much room anyway. So, and we are going to be building a little cabinet up here. That's going to go from the edge of the seam there all the way over and make a little L. And then we're going to put our, it's going to have the DVD player and stuff, and then we're going to mount the TV on the wall right there. And so the cables will just run through the back of the cabinet for hooking it up. And then we'll have our little Plex media, or NAS in here, where we can sync our digital library movies and stuff to it from the house by connecting it to the house Wi-Fi, and then we'll be able to go and sync stuff over and take movies with us without having to carry a lot of DVDs. We'll probably still get like a little Blu-ray player, cheap Blu-ray player or something to put up in the cabinet, just so we have a DVD Blu-ray in case we get something on the road. That's going to probably be underwear and socks mostly up there. So, and you can see the mess back here. I still need to finish up pulling. I still need to punch a couple holes through that 2x3 there to finish the wiring. It goes up to the top there because there's going to be a couple outlets. One's going to be regular plug, and the other one is going to be a cigarette outlet, and that is because we're going to put a shelf up here so that I can put my CPAP on it, because I now need one to sleep. And so you can see the cab over too is filled with crap. I still need to put the piece of paneling on that side. It's somewhere up here. It just needs glue stuck on, glue put on it and stuck on up there. I've still got to get the little molding that you get to put along the top seams. They have one that looks like kind of a crown molding style. It's like rubber, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to get that and then nail it in up there to start covering up the seams. And so that is everything inside the camper. So I'll just turn the lights off here. Go in the barn real quick. Yeah, there we are. I'm getting ready to leave for a little bit to take care of some family business. So this is still full of parts. A little propane compartment door. I just walked past it. Yeah. There we go. So the workshop. My dodgy cord that I'm using to keep the charger running. So, two things. What we're going to do is we're going to be adding a little arm onto the back of the wind gird antenna where the little pins come through for the hinge. And onto that little angle iron arm, we're going to be putting this guy, which is my 4G cell phone booster antenna. It's an RV type. And this guy, which is a long-range universal direction Wi-Fi antenna. And we're probably going to end up making the bracket for them. I have a chunk of that old bed frame over there because there's some nice angle iron in it. And so that's us up to date at this point. And thanks for watching. I eventually will get the blog updated. I'm way behind on it. But I've been focusing more energy onto just getting done anymore than taking a lot of pictures. So there'll probably be less pictures than some of the more further along blog update entries than the past ones because I've stopped using the main camera and I'm just shooting snapshots here and there with the cell phone as I go. So thanks everyone, and I'll update you again soon.